Coming up now on this week's The News, war, huh? What is it good for? No, seriously, asks the Prime Minister. The Indian Free Trade Agreement is signed despite Shane Jones' racism on display. Again. They're making potholes great again. And banks decline scammers' friend requests. All that and more coming up right now on this week's The News. Hello there, kia ora, and welcome to this week's The News for May 1st, 2026. I'm your host Paul, and the rumours about me being the long-lost heir to the throne of Moradovia are only partly accurate. A rupture between the Prime Minister and 81-year-old Winston Peters, seen here finally learning what social distancing is, much to the annoyance of New Zealand First's new voter base, has occurred after the Foreign Affairs Minister released emails to the press that show Luxon wanted to get 100% in behind the United States bombing of Iran in late February, while David Seymour has confirmed pressure was put on the government to accept the offers by Epstein list member Donald Trump. The Prime Minister's office denies that this is his stance and claims he was exploring options instead, while Winston's office claimed it doesn't actually matter what the Prime Minister thinks. He'll bark when he's told there will be a snap election, and he should know that by now. The Green Party's recently announced candidate, Mikhail Molipola, seen here scaring Zionists in government just by existing and saying genocide is bad while being a creative person from the Pacific Islands, is just a few days into his mission to be elected in Mangere, and he's already got free speech advocates trying to cancel his freedom of expression. Said Simon Court for the ACT Party, seen here showing what the IDF taught him about how to aim a weapon at innocent people. Sure, we took donations and refused to return them from a man who wanted to blow up mosque after mosque. We called people who disagreed with our race-baiting bills deranged and signalled our voters to harass them. We told people we wanted to blow up the Ministry of Pacific Peoples, that we deliberately protected pedophiles for the reputation of our party in an election year, that we'd love to see more dangerous guns on the street, and that we were quite happy with a civil war that we told candidates about at the last election. But Mikhail said violent things, and ACT knows that words can hurt unless we say them. While Nationals campaign manager Simeon Brown, seen here learning that women have rights, said, yes, we have an MP who assaulted a child with a bed leg, one who tried to get their family off horrific animal abuse charges from their family farm, one who gets drunk and abuses workers, one who threatened to beat up media in university while calling them a slur Nicola Willis now says is bad, one who used to invite unpopular kids to their house to beat them up, one who may have straight up killed people as a mercenary, one whose mates with Kirsty Noem, and all of the race baiting that you can wish for. And this is the person who Labour wants to partner with, like it's Labour's choice who another party stands as their candidate. Like many right-wing populist politicians, many of the coalition are upset at comments made by Molipola about the death of a divisive figure in the US. We actually approached Molipola for comment about his views on Kirk for clarification. So you've made headlines recently about some comments about Kirk. I'm just wondering if you could give us a backup. What's your thinking on that?
Well, just over the years, I've realized, I was never a fan of him. I never liked his womanizing Lothario ways. The way he spoke was annoying and, pissed me right off. And also his albums, his recordings, they were naff. So I was never a fan of his. I was always more of a fan of the gravitas that someone like Picard had.
Yeah.
So I'm more of a next generation guy. So Captain Jean-Luc Picard, the gravitas, the commanding presence he had, head and shoulders above Kirk.
Perfect. The Prime Minister, seen here being caught by Tova O'Brien in the wild, so he's frozen, thinking her vision is based on movement like a T-Rex, has cancelled all future scheduled appearances on Breakfast after just 2 and a bit interviews with Tova, in a move that National Party supporters are saying is common sense, just like the time that Jacinda stopped regular catch-ups with Mike Hosking after almost 2 years of belittling and mansplaining, which they complained about at the time. On top of complaints about TVNZ reporters in Parliament and a year-old complaint about the behaviour of a senior reporter that the Finance Minister seems to have been holding on to for almost 12 months so that a turf blogger could cause a stir, it's almost like the Coalition has it in for One News specifically after their reporters keep making the Prime Minister look bad by showing him being bad at his job and unpopular with voters. They published a poll not funded by a right-wing AstroTurf group that said the government isn't popular and reported what was leaked to them by MPs from within the party itself. The Taxpayers Union is considering the removal of paid members of their organisation who are on the Waikato Regional Council after they refused to leave local government New Zealand in what TPU spokesperson Jordan Williams says was a direct contradiction of the pledge they signed to save ratepayers' money. Meanwhile, the Free Speech Union spokesperson Jordan Williams has said they should celebrate the members' ability to look at data and evidence presented to them to make their own decisions and speak to those without fear of pressure and repercussions from lobby groups funded mysteriously and answerable to no one. The government has confirmed plans to go ahead and weaken te tiriti protections in a raft of legislations before the November election as part of the coalition agreement with the the other racist support party. But legal experts and constitutional experts warn that this will cause more issues than it fixes because it doesn't solve a problem, and a problem can't be defined that it claims to correct, said Treaty Negotiations Minister Paul Goldsmith, seen here repeating the same bullshit line about crime reduction using dodgy statistics for the 28th time this week on his Facebook page. We're always happy to do anything that seems racist for no good reason if it helps our coalition partners continue to steal our voters and results in social cohesion fraying. The Education and Workforce Select Committee this week heard from shift and part-time workers who told them that proposed changes to holiday and leave entitlements will screw them over, since it would change leave to an accrual process which disproportionately impacts those working less than full-time hours. Said Workplace Relations Minister Brooke Van Velden, seen here watching as 4-year-olds return to the workforce, we tried to find a process that impacted workers and employers equally, but for some reason we just keep landing on law changes that make life harder for workers. It's also really weird how that happens every time we change legislation, and it's even more weird that our funders don't seem to be impacted whatsoever. Cycle Action Auckland and Bike Auckland recently presented an open letter with almost 500 signatories calling on the government to increase funding and support for cycling as an alternative to driving amid the fuel crisis, said Transport Minister Chris Bishop, seen here showing how big he thought his support was to roll the Prime Minister from within the party. Oh, God, you're serious? Oh, God, no. This week, the Aotearoa and Indian governments officially signed a rushed free trade deal negotiated to finish in time for the Prime Minister to claim a much-needed win of some sort before the election. The deal itself has been described as good, not great by some insiders, and as a bunch of racist puke from New Zealand First that I'm not going to platform because fuck them. There are some legitimate concerns about clauses that involve economic investment in the billions of dollars that both countries seem to have differing views on the meaning of. While Labour supported the FTA, they also did demand concessions in other areas to secure their support that included speeding up the modern slavery bill process, better funding for labour inspectorates, and resources for community law groups to help fight unfair employment practices and manipulation, said Finance Minister Nicola Willis, seen here explaining to media that loud, weird noises in Parliament making her seem unwell is actually sexist for people to ask about her well-being over. Look at the deal Labour got us in China. We can see the positive impact an FTA will have, and while he's my friend and I love working with him, Shane Jones shouldn't say racist things, but I'll forgive him because we're mates. While Jones was quoted as saying something racist that I'm not repeating because news shouldn't have to platform awful people doing fucked up things just because they're in Parliament. Do you remember all the potholes National vilified at the last election? Well, they're going to make a comeback under new heavy transport changes announced this week in reaction to the fuel crisis. To respond to the crisis, the government announced other heavier vehicles would now be able to access more roads. The increase in size limits of trucks in transport under the Key government was a significant driver of road damage that was exacerbated by extreme weather events to create potholes that were vilified in the 2023 election, said Transport Minister Chris Bishop, seen here throwing hands for the West Side. Well, since so many of our caucus don't actually believe in climate change, I'm sure this won't cause issues for other road users at all. Associate Police Minister Casey Costello, seen here wondering why teachers aren't showing kids how to light up in primary school anymore, has said funding has been secured to ensure police can finally reach their target of 500 new police officers that the coalition keeps being forced to move because they can't get the recruits and can't keep officers, which are now officially outnumbered by gang members. Not that you can tell because they can't wear patches in public anymore. Police were recently left embarrassed when it was revealed that they had spent $35,000 on recruitment campaigns to woo back cops that had moved to Australia for better paying conditions, which netted a single returning officer. When asked how she planned to increase numbers, Costello took a drag of her cigarette and said, I think they'd just ask the gangs, but since we spent part of April lying about drug rehab funding and gangs to the public, it doesn't look good to replicate the gangs' clearly successful plans in recruiting. Auckland Mayor Wayne Brown, seen here pointing to botany and asking town planners if they can annex it for who they voted for and as their MP, has apologised for comments he made to a Radio New Zealand staffer that he referred to as a Muslim terrorist after comments about tight security in the RNZ building, before making comments about the staffer's beard. In his apology, Brown claimed the comments were fumbled attempts at humour that went wrong, and that he has a great deal of respect for the Sikh community, a community that the staffer is not part of, which led to another apology from the Auckland Mayor. In a follow-up apology, Brown continued to joke that he would be the mayor that represents every Aucklander. The government has decided to discontinue funding for the Sail GP yacht race in Auckland despite concerns from Auckland elected officials and business advocates. Auckland Mayor Wayne Brown called it a disgraceful hash, while Auckland Chamber of Commerce Chief Executive Simon Bridges called it a medium to long-term loss. Sail GP co-founder Russell Coutts, though, has said that he's grateful for Kiwi fans and he's still in contact with the government for a possible 2028 return. After all, he and Winston hung out at the illegal Wellington occupation around the same time, and they both share a disdain for our sea creatures that they can't eat, so there's always hope. Westpac has called on Meta to do better in stopping harmful scams on its platforms after new data reveals 64% of all scams that the bank has dealt with originated on social media last year. Some content has even involved the bank's own CEO, Catherine McGrath, using AI deepfakes, which has remained after numerous complaints to Meta. In a statement, Meta said, "We don't want scams and we're looking at tools and technology that could help us deal with these faster. But until 10% of our income doesn't come from these, we probably won't move too quickly to stop it from happening." Resource Minister Shane Jones, seen here showing who was the most overtly racist MP in the country when it came to the rhetoric around the India Free Trade Agreement, has blamed what he calls communist opponents on the Green Party for the withdrawal of a West Coast mine application on a UNESCO World Heritage Site, while also admitting that the final decision is down to the bidder, which he described as, and I can't believe I didn't make this up, as a well-known geologist in the ranks of professionally trained rock people. New data from Centrix shows March 2026 saw more business liquidations than any other March since 2015, with 286 liquidations and 308 insolvencies. Construction remained the leading industry for liquidations, followed by hospitality. Said the Prime Minister, seen here holding in a fart right now. Yep, on top of record year after year business liquidations, stagnated wage growth and rising unemployment, we are clearly the party of business. And finally, it's taken over a century, but the original Aotearoa icon has finally stepped foot, or claw, into Parliament for the first time, as Kiwi birds were welcomed into the building to celebrate the growth of the Capital Kiwi project. Since 2022, Capital Kiwi have been involved in the return of 250 of the iconic national symbol to Wellington Hills with the support of iwi, government partners and national breeding programs. Said the Prime Minister, "When I heard Capital Kiwi, I thought it was the other kind of capital, the kind rich people keep giving us, the coalition, to keep us in power. But I guess this is nice too." And that's it for this week's The News. Don't forget to check your enrolment details at vote.nz, and until next time, live long, prosper, be one with the Force, and have a great week. Hey, thanks for sticking around till the end of the video. While you're here, why not hit that like button or share the video or even subscribe to the channel. You could even become a paid YouTube member so you can see things released in advance, you get access to some exclusive content, and like all these awesome people, you get to have your name at the end of the credits as well.